What is a somatic practitioner? What modalities are considered somatic therapy? There are a lot of them. I am going to go through some of the top, most common, most well-known somatic therapies. And then if any of you guys, if I've missed some, I am sure that I have missed some, please feel free to comment them below. So I recently did a reel as a trauma recovery practitioner, sharing some things that I wish everybody knew, that I wish that I had known early on in my healing journey. And so many people commented saying, like, what is a somatic practitioner? What are somatic therapies? How do I find a practitioner? I'm going to tell you. I'm going to give you all the resources. Now, I was going to pre-record this and place the websites, for people who are more, you need to be able to see things like reading the website. But because Instagram only allows me to upload videos that are 15 minutes that are pre-recorded, there's a chance that this is going to be longer than 15 minutes because I want to be able to go through the descriptions of each of these modalities, and I just want to be thorough. So what is a somatic practitioner? There are a lot of different modalities that fall under this category. We are going to start with somatic experiencing. This is the modality that I am trained in. This is definitely, of all of the ones I'm going to go through, the one that I understand the most about because this is what I'm trained in. I am not trained in any of these other modalities, so I am going to be sharing with you the descriptions that I found explicitly on their websites. Now, the wonderful thing about these modalities is that the websites are pretty much just the name of the modality, .org or .com, as you will see. All of them have ways and directories to find practitioners online. And if you're looking for a practitioner that is in your area, a lot of them also have like an area where you can search based on your location. But the majority of these people work online as well. So we are going to start with, what is somatic experiencing? Somatic experiencing aims to resolve symptoms of stress, shock, and trauma that accumulate in our bodies. When we are stuck in patterns of fight, flight, or freeze, SE, that's what SE is short for, somatic experiencing, helps us to release, recover, and become more resilient. It is a body-oriented therapeutic model applied in multiple professions and professional settings: psychotherapy, medicine, coaching, teaching, physical therapy, for healing trauma and other stress disorders. It is based on a multidisciplinary intersection of physiology, psychology, ethology, biology, neuroscience, indigenous healing practices, and medical biophysics, and has been clinically applied for more than 4 decades. It is the life's work of Peter Levine. The SE approach releases traumatic shock, which is key to transforming PTSD and the wounds of emotional and early developmental attachment trauma. It offers a framework to assess where a person is stuck in the fight, flight, or freeze responses and provides clinical tools to resolve these fixated physiological states. SE provides effective skills appropriate to a variety of healing professions, including mental health, medicine, physical and occupational therapies, bodywork, addiction treatment, first response, such as like EMTs or ER doctors, education, and others. Okay, so if you are looking for, I am listed, by the way, on the traumahealing.org website as a practitioner, so you can go to traumahealing.org. That is where you can find a somatic practitioner. And I do believe that they post profiles of people who are still actively being trained. So look next to the name if it says that they are certified, or if they're in beginner or intermediate or advanced. Somatic experiencing is at least a 3-year training program. So this is not like a weekend, type of training where it's just one and done. Oh, I got some reactions on. I don't know how that happened. Yes, I will be saving and posting this. So you can pretty much trust that if somebody has gone through this program, they've gone through really dedicating themselves to a lot of clinical hours, because you have to be observed, you have to do case studies, you have to not case studies, it's like you bring in your case consultations to a certified practitioner to work through these things. You have to have tons of your own sessions done, and it's really titrated. The way that the program is sort of the way that somatic experiencing actually works. Is when you're using it as a modality, they space it out over a course of at least 3 years so that you can actually integrate the layers and pieces of it. Personally love somatic experiencing, has changed my life. So let's move on. EMDR is considered, now this is, a lot of people have heard about EMDR. A lot of people have not heard of brain spotting though. Brain spotting, I think don't quote me on this, is a subspecialty that you can get on top of EMDR. So EMDR stands for eye movement desensitization and reprocessing. So what is EMDR? It is a psychotherapy that enables people to heal from the symptoms of emotional distress that are the result of disturbing life experiences. Repeated studies show that by using EMDR therapy, people can experience the benefits of psychotherapy that once took years to make a difference. It is widely assumed that severe emotional pain requires a long time to heal. EMDR therapy shows that the mind can in fact heal from psychological trauma, much as the body recovers from physical trauma. When you cut your hand, your body works to close the wound. If a foreign object or repeated injury irritates the wound, it festers and causes pain. Once the block is removed, healing resumes. EMDR therapy demonstrates that a similar sequence of events occurs with mental processes. The brain's information processing system naturally moves towards mental health. If the system is blocked or imbalanced by the impact of a disturbing event, the emotional wound festers and can cause intense suffering. Once the block is removed, healing resumes. Using the detailed protocols and procedures learned in EMDR therapy training sessions, clinicians help clients to activate their natural healing processes. Okay, one thing I will say, I have heard from some people that have gone into EMDR. Now, I've heard really, really good things about EMDR. I have actually never had EMDR done before on me, or brain spotting. Would love to though. One thing I've heard is that sometimes doing something like somatic experiencing, or perhaps some of the other modalities that I'm going to go through prior to doing EMDR, can increase your capacity to actually do EMDR. So sometimes there's not enough nervous system regulation in order to do effective EMDR. Just a little side note there. So brain spotting. What is brain spotting? Brain spotting is based on the profound attunement of the therapist with the patient, finding somatic cues and extinguishing it by down-regulating the amygdala. It isn't just the parasympathetic nervous system activation that is facilitated, it's homeostasis. So very similar language that you see in these damn reactions with my thumb, similar to what you see in somatic experiencing. So brain spotting is a powerful, focused treatment method that works by identifying, processing, and releasing core neurophysiological sources of emotional body pain, trauma, dissociation, and a variety of other challenging symptoms. Brain spotting is a simultaneous form of diagnosis and treatment enhanced with bilateral sound. They also use bilateral stimulation in EMDR, which is deep, direct, and powerful, yet containing. Okay, so you can find an EMDR practitioner at emdr.com, pretty easy to remember, and you can find a brain spotting practitioner at brainspotting.com. Okay, let's keep going. Next, Hakomi. You can find a Hakomi practitioner at hakomiinstitute.com. What is Hakomi? Hakomi, spelled Hakomi, is a gentle yet powerful experiential psychotherapy that uses mindfulness and somatic interventions to heal attachment wounds and developmental trauma. Created by the internationally renowned therapist and author Ron Kurtz he was alive between 1934 and 2011, with assistance from a core group of colleagues, Hakomi draws from general systems theory. This wind is really coming in hot right now. General systems theory and body-centered therapies. Other inspirations from Reichian work, bioenergetics, Gestalt, psychomotor, Feldenkrais, which I'm both going to talk about, Gestalt and Feldenkrais, structural body work, Ericksonian hypnosis, which is ERICKSONIN, or IAN, focusing, neurolinguistic programming, for those of you guys who are familiar with NLP, Buddhism, and Taoism. So Hakomi draws on Reichian work, bioenergetics, Gestalt, psychomotor, Feldenkrais, structural body work, Ericksonian hypnosis, focusing, neurolinguistic programming, Buddhism, and Taoism. That's so much. The method continues to evolve in response to ongoing discoveries in neuroscience, traumatology, attachment theory, and other related fields. While primarily a method of psychotherapy, Hakomi fits with many body-mind educational coaching and wellness modalities. You're going to notice in a lot of these descriptions, which can seem a little generic, that it doesn't really tell you a lot about what to expect, but they all kind of use very similar languaging. If you're curious about some of these modalities, do a little more research. See if you can find, sometimes on YouTube, you can even find examples of sessions being done within these modalities. I know that Peter Levine has at least one session live where you can see what he's doing with the person. So you get kind of a sense, or a better sense, of what you would possibly expect. So if you're curious about these things, just look it up online, learn more information about it, and then see if there's videos of examples of people doing these modalities. So this next one I was actually only introduced to like a week ago. I had never even heard of this before. So it's called block therapy. So you can go to blocktherapy.com if you want to find out more about this. Block therapy is a self-care version of fluid isometrics. So it's about fascial release. You lie on these block buddies, which are basically like yoga blocks, but they're made of bamboo and they have rounded corners, for a minimum of 3 minutes in each position, and it helps to release the fascial, the places where the fascia's gotten really locked up. And obviously, whenever we're working with the fascia and releasing the fascia, we're also working with stored emotional content and even trauma that's been living in the body through the way that the fascial networks are constricted and sort of like almost calcified in. Our fascia, when it's hydrated, when it's juicy, it's flexible. A lot of people have really calcified and dried out within the fascia just because of holding so much within the body and the tissues. So again, you can find more about this at blocktherapy.com. Okay, so the next one is AEDP. What does that stand for? Accelerated Experiential Dynamic Psychotherapy. You can find a practitioner at aedpinstitute.org. What is this? AEDP psychotherapy is an experiential model that seeks to alleviate patients' psychological suffering by helping them to process the overwhelming emotions associated with trauma in a way that facilitates corrective, emotional, and relational experiences that mobilize positive changes in our neuroplastic brains. Crisis and suffering provide opportunities to awaken extraordinary capacities that otherwise might lie dormant, unknown, and untapped. The AEDP model is about experientially making the most of these opportunities for both trauma processing and healing transformation. Key to the therapeutic action of AEDP is the undoing of aloneness, and thus the co-creation of a therapeutic relationship experienced as both safe haven and secure base where transformational healing can occur. Though the undoing of aloneness and the in-depth processing of difficult emotions and relational experiences, the AEDP clinician fosters the emergence of new and healing experiences for the patient, and with them resources resilience and a renewed zest for life. Now, resilience is something that we talk a lot about in somatic experiencing, because it's not about being neutral and in homeostasis all the time. It's about having a long-term resiliency to shift, to change, and being able to access greater states of joy. So there's a lot more. I'll just read a little bit more about AEDP. So Diana Fosha, hope that's how you say her name, PhD, is a psychologist, author, and researcher, clinician and educator, and the developer of AEDP psychotherapy. She first described AEDP in her 2000 book, The Transforming Power of Affect. Affect just means like emotion. A model for accelerated change. An evolved and updated version of the book was edited and wrote for the American Psychological Association, Undoing Aloneness and the Transformation of Suffering into Flourishing. So it has its roots in interpersonal neurobiology, affective neuroscience, attachment theory, emotion theory, body-focused approaches, and transformational studies. Next, we're almost done. We've got 3 more to go. Sensorimotor psychotherapy. So you can find a sensorimotor psychotherapist at sensorimotorpsychotherapy.org. Imagine that. This modality is influenced by Hakomi, which I was just recently speaking about. So it's such a mouthful. Should we call it SP, sensorimotor psychotherapy? SP is a body-centered approach that aims to treat the somatic symptoms of unresolved trauma. While traditional talk therapies utilize the words of a person as the entry point for treatment, this type of therapy depends on the bodily experiences of the individual as a gateway to awareness and improved mental health. Proponents of SP hold that traumatic experiences may become trapped deep within the body, with those who are affected sometimes completely unaware of the existence of unresolved trauma. Traditional talk therapies may fail to unearth these unconscious issues. Therapists trained in SP techniques can help an individual begin to heal by helping that person re-experience in a safe environment the physical sensations associated with a traumatic event. So there's a lot to this. So SP was pioneered by a guy named Pat Ogden. I hope that's a guy. If it's a woman, I'm sorry. Began in the 1970s. So this is somebody that became fascinated with the relationship between a person's body and mind while serving as a technician and yoga instructor at a psychiatric hospital. She noted, Pat Ogden is a woman. Sorry, this is not my area of expertise, so as you can tell, I'm just relaying the information here on this one. Really on all of these beyond somatic experiencing. So she noted that people seeking treatment often seemed to disconnect their mental health issues from their physical sensations and patterns. Dr. Ogden perceived that many people in therapy tended to relive past painful experiences, making these observations even before PTSD was listed in the DSM. Having analyzed the therapeutic techniques available at the time, Dr. Ogden recognized that many types of treatment only served as triggers that led individuals to re-experience traumatic events and thus end up re-traumatized. Having discerned the link between mental health and the body, Dr. Ogden took the first steps towards development of sensorimotor psychotherapy by combining techniques from psychotherapy and somatic therapy. This decision was influenced by Dr. Ogden's desire to develop a comprehensive approach to remedy the apparent disconnect between the body and the mind. I cannot tell you guys, I have had multiple people throughout the years come to me so dissociated from their body, like spiraling out in almost somewhat psychotic-like states. And when I would ask them, do you have a somatic practice? And that's literally like, I'm like, do you have a yin yoga practice? Do you go for a walk? Do you, have you done any type of like body awareness, anything? And I've had people look at me and go, what are you talking about? This is an emotional issue. This is a or really just like them thinking that this is a psychological issue or this is a spiritual issue. And they're, she's absolutely right in what she's saying, that so often when people are suffering, and really to no fault of their own, so much of our society, times are changing, but for so long failed to recognize the connection between the body and the mind. And, we're kind of becoming more aware of that nowadays. And that's why there's all of these modalities that are available. But not even 8 years ago, I commented this in one of the reel that I'm referring to, where everyone was like, what's a somatic practitioner? I remember going in to like just a traditional therapist because I didn't know, this was like 8 years ago. I didn't know anything about anything. And I was like, my throat hurts. And, nobody asked me like, well, what's going on there? What do you feel in your body? That wasn't even a question. I thought that I had a fucking thyroid condition. I thought there was something like physically wrong with me. I didn't know that emotions could show up as physical sensations in the body, even though I had lived my whole life experiencing emotions as physical sensations in the body. But I didn't know that like trapped emotion could create that level of pain. Like think about when you're going through a heartbreak, right? Like your chest literally feels like it's constricting. And this is part of why I love Somatic Experiencing, because it involves titration, doing things one chunk at a time, pendulating between something distressing and something less distressing, or resourcing. But yeah, I just wished that like all traditional therapists were actually trained in these things. I don't even understand what's the point in becoming a clinical psychologist if you're not going to be able to treat trauma, because what the hell are you even doing? Like, why is that an extra certification? Why do people have to get extra training to even be able to deal with trauma? That should be what we are. Why else is somebody showing up to therapy? And everybody has trauma, by the way. There's not a single person walking around on this planet that doesn't have trauma. Okay, so just a little bit more on the development of sensorimotor. So Pat Ogden collaborated with Ron Kurtz, who is the developer of the Hakomi method, like I said. So it's a blend of like somatic therapies, attachment theories, cognitive applications, neuroscience, and Hakomi. AEDPinstitute.org if you want to find out more about that or find a practitioner. Okay, we're down to the last two, but I promise you that there are so many more modalities than this out there. Gestalt therapy. If you are looking for more information about this, or you want to find a practitioner that is a Gestalt therapist, you can find them at gestaltcenter.org/UK. That is GESTALTCentre.org/UK. Gestalt therapy is an approach to psychotherapy that helps clients to focus on the present, to understand what is actually happening in their lives at this moment and how it makes them feel in the moment, rather than what they assume to be happening based on past experiences. unblending, uncoupling, call that uncoupling in somatic experiencing, along with person-centered and existential therapy. It is one of the primary forms of humanistic therapy. The term Gestalt is derived from a German word that means whole or put together. Gestalt therapy was developed in the 1940s and 50s by Fritz Perls, a psychiatrist and psychoanalyst, and his then wife, psychotherapist Laura Perls, as an alternative to traditionally verbally focused psychoanalysis. Their foundational premise is that people are best thought of as a whole entities consisting of a body, mind, and emotions, and are best understood viewed through their own eyes. The Gestalt philosophy rejects the notion that any one particular trait, episode, or diagnosis could define a person. Instead, their total self must be explored, discovered, and confronted. I would say that parts work falls under Gestalt. So whether that's voice dialogue, which is what I'm trained in, or internal family systems, it's a very Gestalt-like approach. As they encounter and gain awareness of other parts of, of other parts of themselves, individuals can take greater responsibility for themselves and hopefully gain a greater sense of what they can do for themselves and others. Instead of simply talking, clients in Gestalt therapy are often encouraged to engage in intellectual and physical experiences that can include role-playing, reenactment, artistic exercises like drawing and painting. So family constellation work, which I am obsessed with and love, is also a form of a Gestalt therapy, right? Parts work, where you're role-playing, even though it goes so much deeper than just role-playing, with the chairs, again, Gestalt therapy. So in this way, clients can learn to become more aware of their thoughts and actions, of how negative thought patterns and behaviors may be blocking their self-awareness and making them unhappy, and how they can change. All right, let's move into the final one here, which is Feldenkrais. So there is a woman who I think is like probably the most famous somatic practitioner on Instagram, the Workout Witch _ I believe. Her name is Liz Tenuto. Many of you guys have probably already heard of her. If you haven't, go and check out her profile. And yes, I realize that I don't care what modality we're talking about. There is always going to be somebody, or what person we're talking about, what practitioner we're talking about. There's always going to be somebody that says, oh, that didn't work for me. Okay, that's fine if it didn't work for you. There's millions of or thousands of people that it is working for. If it doesn't work for you, find something that does. If a particular practitioner doesn't work for you, find somebody who does. Not all practitioners are created equal. And even if somebody is a very skilled practitioner, it doesn't necessarily mean that they are going to be a good fit for you. So, the Feldenkrais method. The reason I need to slow the fuck down, y'all. I'm just trying to cram this all in here. The reason I bring up Liz and her work is because she has these incredible 90-day, 30-day, 15-day somatic release exercises, hip, jaw, she goes through the whole thing. And I believe, don't quote me on this, but I believe that she has a background in Feldenkrais. She also probably has a background in a lot of other things because she's been doing this for 20 years. But she's an incredible resource. So Feldenkrais, you can find a practitioner. I'm going to spell this out for you because this one's like, what is that? What are you saying to me? FELDENKRAIS.com. Feldenkrais.com. So what is the Feldenkrais method? The Feldenkrais method of somatic education uses gentle movement and directed attention to help people learn new and more effective ways of living the life they want. You can increase your ease and range of motion, improve your flexibility and coordination, and rediscover your innate capacity for graceful, efficient movement. Since how you move is how you move through life, these improvements will often enhance your thinking, emotional regulation, nervous system regulation, and problem-solving capacities. The Feldenkrais method is based on principles of physics, biomechanics, and an empirical understanding of learning and human development. Moshe Feldenkrais, hope I'm saying that right, said, "We move according to our perceived self-image. By expanding your perception and increasing your awareness, you will become more aware of your habits and tensions and develop new ways of moving. By increasing sensitivity, the Feldenkrais method assists you to live your life more fully, efficiently, and comfortably." So these are often, there's two ways that you can do Feldenkrais. Either in a group setting where you're following the verbal instructions of a teacher, or through something like functional integration sessions, which are one-on-one lessons where you are guided through touch, movement, and verbal instruction. Now, obviously there's more obvious ones like massage therapy could, be considered a somatic therapy. Yoga could be considered a somatic therapy, but again, as I spoke about in that reel, if you're struggling with severe autonomic dysregulation, doing things like high intensity workouts, power yoga, it's not going to be a good idea for you. You really need to look at the more yin hatha classes, slow flow, tai chi, things like that. You don't want to kick your nervous system up beyond what it's already living in. So I hope that this is helpful. I hope that this gives everybody all the resources that they could possibly need. And Lord knows, I want you guys to find out more about these modalities. I want you guys to find practitioners that work for you. I'm only one person. I can only take on so many people. I have a really long wait list right now. People that are at the bottom of that wait list, like I'm not even going to be able to get to them until August. And so there's plenty of people that maybe are here on this page or watch my content or are even interested in working with me, but they need something sooner. And I wouldn't want you to wait another 4 months. So here are all of the ways, I don't need to just funnel people to me. I'm happy for people to go and find somebody immediately. Let's do that. Let's do that. Let's heal. Let's get in our bodies. Let's find modalities that work for us, that are integrative, that are holistic, that are beyond just traditional talk therapy models. There's a lot of research that goes into backing every single one of these modalities. They work. These people that have created these modalities have dedicated their lives to researching these things and taking all these different elements of understanding of how human biology and neurology functions and relational trauma and developmental trauma. And I'm so grateful to live in a time and an era where we have access to these things, because Lord knows our parents didn't and our parents' parents didn't, even though a lot of these modalities existed and were coming out, let's say in the 80s and the 90s and early 2000s. It's really only starting to gain traction now, I would say, to where it's becoming more widely accepted and understood. So yeah, I hope you enjoyed this. Sorry that I wasn't able to do a video with all the editing and all the, here's this website and here's all the words and all the definitions. Like I said, Instagram only gives me 15 minutes, and I don't know how long this was, but I can guarantee it was probably over 15 minutes. All right, be well, guys. Let me see just really quick, actually, if there was any comment. I definitely appreciate a more visual format of this presentation. I'm in the middle of school pickup, so I'm listening but won't be able to retain it all. Thank you. yeah, come back, just come back and scroll through and write these things down. And really all you have to do, if there was one particular modality that you were interested in, just Google it, just Google it. One little click, you can find out all the information that you need. All right. I hope you guys have a wonderful day. See you later.